So, welcome to the second series of the Tom's Barbers podcast. Today we've got Stuart Grantham. So, obviously we're back for a second series. Obviously the original thought for the first series was to celebrate local people doing amazing things and telling their stories. Season 2 is going to be the exact same. Hopefully we can give you a better product to watch and engage with. We're going to bring some people back this year that we spoke to last year, see how they've moved on in their story, what they're doing now. We're also going to look at doing something different this year. So we're going to bring in other guests, not so much around the barber's chair, sit down and have a nice little chat. This season is all about celebrating other people's stories, giving them a platform to tell you what they've been up to, and also for you to tell us what you want us to do next. Stuart is a local councillor for Reform and for the Hartsholme area. Let's meet him. So Stuart, welcome back to the second series of the Tom's Barbers podcast. Suppose really we should start back because people might not have seen the first one. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and obviously why you're here today?
Yeah, obviously a newly elected councillor back in May for Lincolnshire County Council. Also have a part-time job on HGV driving as well. And obviously back on the pod to discuss about local issues and what I've been up to, and I'm sure the residents want to know what I've been up to in the last, I would say, 8 months now since May.
So I think it's good, obviously we'll discuss all that, but again, for people who didn't see it, because obviously getting into local politics, what got you into local politics?
Yeah, so it started with the referendum on the Brexit vote. Obviously, I am a Brexiteer, and that's when I first started getting into politics, because I think it's important that, the residents of our country do have a say in, instead of, people abroad that can dictate our rules, like the ECHR, and I think this is going to cause, has been causing crime to go up, as well as serious crime. And when you try to deport these criminals from prisons, they've got the human rights aspects of basically you cannot deport them because of that, even though they cause real serious offences.
Yeah, but I think majority of people would agree. Like, someone commits a crime, probably shouldn't be welcome. So obviously that sounds like big politic issues. So when we talk about like the big issues, and then there's obviously yourself at a local level, what's the difference between you being able to have an influence on the big decisions compared to you being at local? Because I don't think a lot of people understand the structure of politics and how it works. Do you want to quickly explain like where you are to the level maybe of, like, obviously we all know.
So obviously we don't have them, but in the rural areas, obviously you have your parish councils, and then that's followed by your district councils, and then the next tier along that will be ourselves at county council tier, and then your top one is obviously your MPs, because they are the lawmakers.
So with that, where could you? So at the moment, you're local council. Where's next for you? Where on your political journey?
So yeah, I've got no interest in becoming an MP. I kind of like doing the groundwork. I have been door knocking. I haven't got round to everybody just yet. I've almost finished Hartsholme Estate for those that did answer the doors to me. We've done at the minute up to 800 door knocks just on Hartsholme Estate alone. We've done another 300 door knocks in Moorland and another 200 in Birchwood. Out of those, we've had about 40% that have answered. Obviously, people are busy going out, doing what they want, or going to work. But I'll keep, retrying and visiting them and discussing the local issues, as well as turning and what I'm fighting for, what I'm trying to get through. Some of it's been quite successful, and we can go into that if you want me to.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, like obviously we'll dig down into what's important and what you're doing now, but I think really let's go back to the basics, fundamental. What made you pick Reform out of obviously Labour, Conservative?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a Labour or Conservative voter, or I actually was a non-voter, simply because, you know, I didn't like any of the political parties at that point. The reason why I came to Reform is, you know, basically to get the country back, you know, and set up the chain event that we used to have, to where, you know, you vote in your MP shapes those policies on the manifestos that provided from the residents, and that's why your local councillors, no matter what political party they are from, they should be going out talking to residents and seeing their feedback. That can be either local level or national level, and this is where the chain comes back. So if you do have anything national level that you want me to put up to the higher level ones, we can certainly do that. And then it'll be, they obviously grab a big survey data from all local councils, or even public consultations, and that gets feed up, and then depending how popular those are from a national aspect, we can implement those if we actually do gain power in government. But it creates that manifesto.
Yeah. So there's two things that I want to discuss. Obviously, one, the importance of manifestos and actually accountability on manifestos. But obviously, you've talked about it. So big in the news at the moment is a lot of councils are cancelling local elections, and Lincoln are one of them councils. I have a lot of customers come in who don't understand why they're wanting to cancel it, and why obviously Reform are big on trying to stop the cancellations. So could you explain in your own words, and obviously you'll have more of an understanding, one, why it's important for the local elections to go ahead, and explain or kind of let people know what Labour's arguments is for cancelling them.
So Labour's argument is this will save £174,000 to the taxpayers. The problem is with that is it doesn't, simply because the £174,000 it would save is already drafted in that budget. So therefore they've just moved those fundings to somewhere else. Obviously we know where it is going, and that's a 0% tax free, which is kind of a smart move, because I think every resident will be pleased that Lincoln City is drafting up 0%. And the other argument is for the, and as the government have said, is about the local organisation that's going to take place hopefully in next year. The trouble with that is North East Lincolnshire is going ahead. They are part of the same LRG within Lincolnshire. So that makes no sense to me. And you had 10 Labour councillors in North East that wanted those elections to go ahead, but yet Labour councillors in Lincoln City did not. And not only that, when some of my colleagues attended the full Lincoln Council meeting this month, there was only one Labour councillor that actually was speaking, and the rest remained quiet. And furthermore, what I was surprised about, didn't even vote on it in the public domain. So that was kind of shocking to me. I think there's no reason at all why they should cancel these. There's 6 plans for the local reorganisation, and the government hasn't picked one yet, and they can change this timeline as well. And don't forget that also, even if we do go on the current timeline in May, that the same councils will have a further 12 months for that transition period to happen from 27 to 28. So when you do vote in your reorganisation councillors, and that's if it does happen, they will be in a shadow period for those 12 months. But the old councillors remain within those powers to let the transfer go. So one of the arguments is, oh, it's only 12 months. Well, even if you government do it on the correct timeline, they've actually got 2 years of being extra of being in the same seat. So therefore they'll be in power for 6 years.
So really it's a case of protecting their own seats and remaining in control undemocratically, really, not allowing local people to have a say.
Yeah, and that's based on the current timeline. If the government come back and say, we don't like our seats because it doesn't meet any of our criteria, they could easily take it back to the drawing board. They can even, if they choose to do so, say, well, because of Lincolnshire's geographic nature, we can't meet of this criteria, so it's better to keep it as it is.
Yeah.
So therefore, you'll have, are we going to have double elections in May if they do council it? And these are just obviously speculations.
Yeah.
But I don't like is, how can you council elections when you haven't picked a plan for it?
No, it doesn't make logical sense.
No. If they picked a plan and said, this is a plan we're going ahead, there's no point of doing those calculations. But even then, I'm still redundant because you've still got a 12-month period. Like I say, if they do council them, you're going to have to do a double election next year. So, to me, there's no excuse, unless you're in a wartime, to cancel any elections. And I think it's important that the residents have their votes to say how good that individual councillor has been for their ward.
And the ironic thing is, so they say they're going to save 170, which obviously to me and you is a lot of money, but actually compared to the council budget, they waste more, I'd imagine, on a daily basis.
Yeah, so like failed tax errors in the last 4 years is equivalent to £1 million of council tax that they haven't been collecting, for instance, and there could be a number of reasons behind that. But when it comes to the total budget, I think it's 0.2%.
Crazy. So, obviously, we talked about that. I'm starting to agree with you. They should go ahead, and it's a disgrace if they don't. At the end of the day, people deserve to have a vote, and if they've done a good job, they'll stay in. So, obviously, we talked. You chose reform. They aligned with you. So, more on a local basis then. So, what do you believe like the local issues are currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a major problem with highways, especially drainage down Skenningthorpe Road. I will be doing a ward walk, and also I'm going to put out on the media if any local residents would like to come and join me on the highways officers ward walks regarding Skenningthorpe Road path, because that's been a concern for residents, as well as the drainage down there, because it does get blocked up from the leaves. The problem we have with the drainage is when it comes to underneath, who actually owns it? Is that owned by us? Is that owned by the environmental agency? Or is that owned by Anglian Water or a different water company, for instance? And it's something that I want to start rectifying on the drainage problems, because obviously you've got a problem down Rookery Lane that's been flooded once or twice in a number of months. Same with Westwick Drive to Prior Avenue on the corner there. So it's just like looking at this, and I'm glad to say that obviously we're still discussing the budget, but there has been an increase of the highways budget of 3.6%. It's about £3.6 million. It's still not a lot, correct, but some of that is going into flood defences and rurals as well as drainage.
Yeah. So do you, in your early days of doing what you're doing, are you finding, like, obviously you mentioned like with the drainage that there's multiple people who could be responsible? Do you feel like this is a shame in itself, or just like surely the council should be responsible for it all and it should be an easy fix?
Yeah, I would like it to be an easy fix, but sometimes not everything's black and white, because if you don't own those drainage, then there's certain things we can do, like enforcement, but that can be a very long procedure. And I think it's important before you start doing any such things like that, it's always worth that chat and say that we have residential complaints about the drainage and concerns that we would like to take up with you and to address. And if we can help in any way to resolve them, then we should go ahead with it.
Yeah. Do you think things move fairly fast, or is everything at a slow pace?
Yeah, so it depends on the scope of the problems that the officers see when they're on the groundworks. Obviously, I feel like to some degree, not always, that potholes are on Fix My Street can be fairly fast. And on the Highways Committee just yesterday, they're looking into improve my Fix My Street for faster response times and strengthening up that communication with residents that do report those problems on Fix My Street. The officers have 14 days to investigate those problems, and depending on the severity of a pothole or cutting back trees or moss on pathways, etc., will tell how fast that's be. So if it's under, like, say, health and safety, sometimes they'll just come down and secure the area on the same day. If it's like a 40 mil pothole, for instance, which is the beginning of our intervention level, they will then, well, for better, if we contract out to fix them, we'll have 28 days to come and fix that. Now, that doesn't always happen, granted, because it depends on how many potholes are being fixed in one day because of manpower, but that's the aim. And if they don't get it done in 28 days in the contract, they do get penalised to do that. I think the slow projects is what's called FPBs, which is forward program briefs. And basically, for instance, if we look at Hartsholme Estate, we've done a rough valuation, so obviously not 100% accurate, that to reconstruct all footpaths, and this is just footpaths, is about £40 million worth. And the highways budget in total across Lincolnshire is only £100 million. So there's no way I can ask for £40 million and do it in 1 year. So what I'm doing with the highways is setting up a 3 to 4 year strategy of road resurfacing, as well as putting those reconstruction footpaths, so therefore we don't have claims.
Yeah.
And it's about getting those claims and reductions down. That will save the taxpayer more money, so we can put more money into highways.
It makes it, at the end of the day, there's one pot and you only can spend it once, and that's the difficult problem we have, isn't it? So with that, obviously you talked about highways being a big problem. What other things have you found, and what initiatives are you doing for local businesses or people themselves?
So when it comes to local businesses, obviously we have various business hubs that business can go into, and some of these hubs are only 50% occupied at the minute, and this can help local businesses go into training or further development as they see fit. And if they want to rent or lease it off LCC for those small businesses for growth opportunities, we can help them with that, with connections that we already have. Team Lincolnshire do a fantastic job on there, and they hold events to small businesses or even big businesses like Lindens and Siemens that do go to these events. There's one, I believe it's tomorrow, was it tonight? No, tomorrow, where we'll be down where the old Lincolnshire Echo used to be.
Yeah.
To discuss about what problems that the law affect on those businesses. And it's something that I'll be also participating to get a better understanding of where small businesses and what affects the law, what's the red tape they're facing that's holding these businesses grow out, because businesses are so important, especially small businesses like yourself, Tom, and some down at Sadler Road, as well as even the moorland, because obviously you play a massive impact on communicating with the with your customers who's a part of this community, And when we have our conversations, obviously you can say, well, actually, no, the local councillor, he might be able to, you know, solve those problems that you may have. I think what's a shame is even though reform against solar panels, for instance, on farms, we are for wanting grants for businesses to put them on their infrastructure, reducing their energy bills.
Which is good. And I think, what are the other misconceptions been with reform? Obviously, you just mentioned reform being probably against solar farms, but actually being saying, yeah, actually we do believe in solar in other areas. What other misconceptions do you think that people have for reform?
I think it's a bad idea to start labelling, well, not just reform, but any political party and the fascists and the Nazis and racists. If you actually look at some of our policies, some of them are actually left wing, and I don't think it's left wing or even extreme right wing anymore. I think it's just about reforms about, you know, family, community, and country, and that's our core values that we've always established from day one around, and they're the core values that attracted me that no other party was establishing at that time, because they might say things, but as they say, actions speak louder than words. And and I would say one of the things I'm trying to do at this current moment is, obviously we have got, when I was on here last time, I was on about the library, for instance. Now we've been in contact with Hartsholme Academy, and they've got an empty building on the side that leads to the forest area, and we're working with them, and you know, nothing's 100% at the moment, in putting that into a community hub. So therefore people that may not have broadband can go there and get equipment or books, or even use the internet there for any online courses that might want to progress their career in whatever they choose to do.
That's sounds really positive, certainly for the community. And at the end of the day, everybody needs to be learning and upgrading their skills.
Yeah. And just on that, sorry, with the library, obviously, I know under Nikki and Roxanne, who's been doing a great job in establishing the new PTFA.
Yeah.
And they will also have access, if it goes ahead, to some of that funding for the children, as well as to the parents that use Hartsholme Academy, as well as the community around it, to say we would like, which is in accordance to about £5,000 a year. Obviously, this will be reviewed annually to make sure that this is being spent, the taxpayers' money is being spent correctly. Yeah. What this does is also it maximises the efficiency, because obviously, because it's a school building, obviously they take the responsibility of the upkeep and obviously all the energy cost with that.
That's good though. I think schools should be more utilised, because if you think about it, if the school's only open during the time the children are there's so much space and occupation that could be used. So that's great. So we're coming more to the end kind of thing. So I just want to sum up a few things. So what have your local residents potentially got to look forward to in the upcoming months, years?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely going to be, from the Lincolnshire County Council perspective, I think we're going to start seeing grips onto balancing the budget more. I think there's going to be reduction in debt. Obviously, it will balloon this year because of the big projects like the North Highcombe Relief Road, costing us £80 million, with an extra £110 million coming from the obviously government. I think we can start seeing hopefully extra growth, not in this budget, but definitely in the next budget. There's going to be surpluses in growth come next year, as well as in highways. So we are starting obviously I realise it must be frustrating for our residents because we all want to see that kind of progress straight away. But the policies that our executives have been putting in is starting to go. We're also starting to see, once again, Hartsholme Academy that we've partnered up with is the extra centres for our children. And, you know, we're going to start seeing that being implemented and hopefully a reduction in waiting times for those children that do need that extra help, as well as our normal children as well. And even though that they do come under the national curriculum, because we are in partnership with them, I'm trying to do whatever I can to help Hartsholme Academy and obviously give them the best Ofsted report that we can give them. And if we can provide any additional funding towards our children, I think that's a good opportunity. Obviously, it is a bit disappointing if the elections are cancelled, and obviously Reform UK are actually the only party that are taking this as a legal battle, which is on the 19th and 20th of February will be the outcome of that, to see if the government are indeed within the law on that one. We think we've got a good chance of winning. So, and if we do win, obviously elections will go ahead for May. And I've been going around already discussing with residents on what they would like to see in this area. For instance, I think we could use more of the dog bins, for instance, especially around the Black Bridge and on Ketley Fields. There seems to be a lack of them. I think we need to just small things like some of the street signs need to be cleaned more often or even replaced. Some of the residents' concerns. And there are a few that I don't want to go into because they're quite important to me. But, you know, there's big things that I would like to see, social values of businesses that are an importance to Hartsholme Estate as well as Swampole, even though that'll be out of Hartsholme Ward, but they'll be able to use it because we have lost those social values in Hartsholme Estate, because what do we look forward to around here? And one of those that's in my is obviously the community hub library, but there's 2 or 3 or even 4 things that I was going for that I would like to fight for, and that's including like some events like in Hartsholme Park. There's no reason why you couldn't do the assault bouncy castle like they do at Lincolnshire Showground. Maybe looking, even though it will be a big investment, will be like some kind of skate park, maybe one of those zip wires that go across that you have in Brantbruton. So and maybe one of the residents come to me, it would be fantastic to have some shelter. So when you go there, when it's very hot during the day, obviously you've got no shelter around the kids' parks whatsoever. So you're just melting away. Where you can get a bit of under the shelter, and obviously I know you're not going to cool yourself down, but it gets you from getting any kind of sunburn. So it's just little things like that residents would like to see improved.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we are lucky on Hartsholme. We've got so many things around us. Obviously, we've got the secondary school, primary school, a good collection of churches. Obviously, we've got a lot of old people about with Wisby Green. And then obviously you've got the football club. I think what, for me, like, and we've also got Stoneses and Hartsholme Park is, we've just got so much around us, but nothing's connected. Like, everyone seems to be their own little island. There needs to be that more of a connection, more things done collaboratively. And again, like Hartsholme Park's absolutely amazing. I'm fortunate I walk through it most mornings or evenings. But again, like, this is more of my wish. I'd love to see boats on the lake. I'd like to see Hartsholme Park thriving.
Yeah, so when it comes to the boats, I actually looked into that before even the May elections and county council. So one of the problems with the boats is just the insurance of it. And that's what's holding a lot of people, you know, and I think doing it because of the liability.
This is the problem with our country, though, is red tape, insurance, stuff like this. And it's stopping... it's basically stopping Great Britain being great again, because we can't do anything because of the insurance.
Yeah.
you know, ultimately is like
Yeah.
kids are, you know, losing these opportunities, you know,
Yeah.
and like we've got to maximise what we've got. Could you imagine France or Germany going, oh, we can't do it because of the insurance? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's why I think we need to help any type of business that want to take that on, or even Lincoln City could probably take that on since they own the lakes and Hartsholme Park in general. I think if there's enough appetite from the residents to bring those boats onto the lakes, I think it can be worth it. But we've also got to be practical on how we spend the taxpayers' money, because we've got to have efficiency.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that is concerning me, like any other business, obviously, we are also impacted by the increase of national insurance. And like you say, the bureaucracy, I think, is stifling growth, and that's from a national policy.
Yeah.
And it's something tomorrow that I'm going to learn about even more so then I understand business such as yourself, and make a wiser choice for those businesses, and obviously have that connection with our small businesses around Hartsholme Division and Ward.
Yeah, for me, it's job creation. Like at the moment, employing, it's not easy. It's not cost efficient. There's a lot of risk to it, but again, like I'm just thinking, like just outside, like with Hartsholme Park, you get someone doing the boats. That's 2 or 3 people, 5 people's jobs maybe. You know, segways, bikes, bike hired for around Hartsholme Park. Like, there's so many jobs that you left.
Yeah, and
again, I don't believe it should be Lincoln Council's responsibility to do that, but I just think if someone has a great idea, why not? You know, there's so much we can do.
Why not even have a look into it? For instance, the bike idea, I think it's a terrific idea. Once again, you've got to look at the taxpayers and the efficiencies behind it. Now, if taxpayers don't mind taking a bit of a loss, and the county council don't mind taking a bit of loss because it adds that additional social value, then it's, in my eyes, I think that'll be worth it, as long as you have the residential backing.
Yeah.
And when we come to, I think the cycle thing's a great idea, because then it'll be a bit like centre parks, how they park up, you've got to park somewhere, and then you can just do like a bike area.
In all fairness, that's kind of the way I'm seeing Hartsholme Park, because again, when you look at Hartsholme Park, probably 10%, 15% of it's utilised. The rest of it's kind of untouched. But you know, why don't you take inspiration from the centre parks? Why don't you take it? And I think this is what the UK was always good for, is we would travel the world and we would see the thing and we would bring the best things back.
Yes.
And we would implement them. And I think at the moment is we don't do that, or we're scared to do that, or we just can't be like, somebody else will do that. But ultimately, is the way I see Hartsholme is we've got a fantastic community.
Yeah.
It's a changing community, but
yeah,
there's so much we can do. And again, the red tape's there and it's effort and time for people to do. But again, there's so much options. And I think, you know, we all should take responsibility. And you can't moan about things if you're not willing to do things either.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me wonder, what's the upkeep of Hartsholme Park? That's something we've got to look at as well. But obviously, you know, that's if they get re-elected, and if people of Hartsholme Division, whatever the Great Combined Party is going to look like, if it does happen, we've got to look at, obviously they've got a really good caravan site at Hartsholme Park, and I think we can utilise that more to be more efficient than what it is now. Obviously we've got the cafe, that's only, obviously is open, but when you look at the central area, that's been closed God knows how many years. And I know it's only a small area, but that's providing those shelters.
Well, I walked through the park with my little one the other week, and I was telling him how, like, there used to be birds there near the calf. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's only, you know, you look at other places and there's so much you can do. But again, we can't change the world and thing. But ultimately, Hartsholme is a great place to be. We've got a good councillor at the moment. So just a couple of quick questions just to finish off. So what do you like to do other than being a councillor and driving?
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to Hartsholme Park, obviously I'm not the councillor for Hartsholme Park. That relies on the city, and we'll see what the Screen combined comes, because it's going to be more headache. But outside, obviously, I love to spend family time. You know, I like seeing our little one go to Portland's or even Centre Parks that we've taken him. Obviously, as you know, I'm a bit not at the minute, but I will be going back into striping my grass again and doing different stripes, and maybe even trying to do circles and different patterns. So I know it sounds boring, but it's stuff like that. I'm really getting more and more interested in businesses as well, and learning all that stuff. There's still a lot for me to learn, and I'm like not even rookie level, I'm below that still. But it's just seeing what you guys go through to the day-to-day basis, whether that's, you know, national insurance contribution, and how you're you know, tackling all sorts of these, and, you know, bringing your communications to bring in extra customers. You know, how do you keep those extra customers, and what's the commercial value, what's your strategic purposes behind it, and all that. And I'm starting to take a real interest in business, where before I want that much interest in business, but seeing, like, you know, when I was speaking to James, who's the CEO of Sterling Development, and what he's been telling me, and what kind of framework he operates under, and the restrictions that he's been facing. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too much detail because it was a chat in confidence, but it was like, I really, really want to help any businesses out there, especially during these hard times and these moments, because it's not easy for you at all.
No, it's not. But again, I always think, like, you've got to look at your opportunities, and the thing is, you can focus on all the bad things, but you can actually look at, like, what can we do differently? You know, I think that's the thing you've got to go is, what can we control, what can't we control? Like, we can't change what national insurance is, we can't change stuff like that, but what we can do is look at what we can change, what we can implement.
See, that's one of the good things I like about Reform. I don't know if any other parties do that, I don't know, but at the minute we do have a group on our website, if you are a Reform UK member, where you can sign up to small business to give your validation to Reform HQ.
Yeah.
And obviously they'll keep you in contact, and it's like, well, I'm facing this problem, such and such, and this needs to be changed. And it's something I'm trying to learn as well, so that if businesses are struggling, I can bring that top down to add more meat onto that policy on, right, how do we get rid of the level of bureaucracy that small businesses are facing, to have less bureaucracy for growth.
Yeah, I think that's good, because at the end of the day, you do need that feedback from people actually in the trenches. So I've got two more questions, and now I'm going to let you go.
That's okay.
So the first one is, how has become a councillor changed your life?
It's changed more than I actually thought. Obviously, the more time I spend as a councillor, the personal development within inside of me has been changing dramatically, and I'm still learning now, whether that's regarding adult child social care to SEND, or even businesses, for instance. And also highways is a big eye-opener, that like, when you look at civil engineering to normal engineering, I thought there might be the same thing, but the completely different aspects of engineering levels, and that's included in our highways. And it's just been a massive learning curve, and the more information I get, the more I feel like not only do I improve as a person, but I improve as a councillor, to give that information to our residents, to make more informative, to be more informative to those residents on why we may not be able to do this and what we can. So, for instance, you can't do every little pothole. It's got to be an intervention level at 40 mil, for instance. So, and like you just said a few minutes ago, as much as I would like to help businesses improve, we've got to do it on what we can do within our own authority. Obviously, I can't change national insurance contributions, and then we've got to look at how the market's going to affect. So you've got to do this in drips and drabs, so the market and the bonds don't drop so fast. Like, you know, for an example, like Liz Trusted. Yeah. She went in too hard, too fast, and then obviously everyone had an outcry, and then obviously she lost her prime ministership. So
yeah, it'd have been interesting though to see if that was given time to fruition. And again, I think you're right though, is that you can't change everything all the time. And I suppose, you know, great examples, Lincoln City, like they're not got the biggest budget in the world, they're
No.
overperforming. They make small changes, and they focus the money where it's going to get the biggest reward. And I suppose that's what Reform are doing at a council level.
Yeah, from Lincolnshire County Council, and we are making officially there will be surpluses from the 27 to 28 budget. Obviously, we are looking into growth and obviously highways will be a bit static for now, but I'm confident looking at the financial prospect for the next 3 years. I think we can get there, and we're going to start improving things, because the last thing I want to see is, obviously, we're going to be £800 million in debt. We need to start curbing that back, because you can't keep borrowing and borrowing.
You just ruin your children's future.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, I wasn't going to mention it, but why we've drifted over to that. Obviously, I've looked into like what's happened at other councils, the big deficit, and I'd argue and say a lot of fraudulent behaviour and a lot of things. So, are Lincoln lucky compared to like other councils? And do you feel like some of these councils that have got themselves massively in debt, should we see some criminal prosecutions?
I don't think we can see criminal prosecutions. That's the unfortunate thing about it. They'll say, well, we've negotiated best as we can with the government for extra funding. So, for instance, we've actually got a bit of extra money down to the, I think it's called the fair value.
Yeah.
Where we was at like 1%, now we've gone up to like something like 1.2% of extra money coming from the government, which is a bit substantial. I think it's an extra £20 million or something like that coming into our coffers. Plus, when we went through staffing reviews on the castle, for instance, and we're doing that in different departments, the castle staffing review saved £500,000 for the taxpayer with it annually.
Yeah.
And when we had more events at the castle, it had a net contribution of £1.5 million along with that £500,000. The unfortunate thing is we was left with £30 million, just over, of repairing the castle walls. Yes, there has been some stuff to it, but it hasn't gone far enough.
Yeah.
And obviously you want to put in like a damage assessment, so when you see the problem you can start tackling that problem. Something like a sink fund, for instance, and that's something that we've seen. So it's about having smarter policies in place than what the previous administration had to go forward, so it's a less burden on the taxpayer. Sorry.
No, it makes sense. To be fair, like this is the thing, I suppose. When even when I have a conversation with you, like I suppose I just see things at surface level, and obviously there is so much more that you have to deal with. That again, people don't know what they don't know, and certainly just with this conversation with you today, I've learned so much more and understand there's so much more layers to what you do. So I suppose.
I mean, I will say this. So obviously, I've gone out with obviously our police. Obviously, I went out with Sergeant Samantha, who's the sergeant for the South team. One of the things I'm a bit disappointed in is obviously we will be losing 2 police officers for South Lincoln, and I'm really extremely disappointed in that. And even though that was up to the police crime commissioner, who's obviously won't be in the job soon, and the chief constable, I think we need more officers on the street, on the beat, talking to residents, looking at the hot spots, and it's something that I'm a big advocate in it. And even though we're not too bad in Hartsholme and Moreland and Birchwood in the south as such, there's places that are bad, like Parkwall, which is around the Central Bank area. We do have one of the highest crimes rates going out of all of Lincolnshire in Lincoln. And I wanted to tackle and address that, but if we're losing another 2 police officers through funding again, it's something that's not acceptable. And we are in contact through the Police and Crime Commission panel to address those concerns, because I know that's just going to be a concern for all residents on why we're losing viable police officers.
But I think, obviously, like you say, there's certain things you're in control of and certain things you can't. Obviously, I'm fortunate we have quite a lot of people at the police come in and, they do a great job. But ultimately they're struggling with recruitment, they're struggling with keeping people on board, losing good people. And, they have their own problems, and you know, it'd be nice to talk to someone about that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you only can do what you can do. So just to quickly wrap this up, thank you very much for your time. I've got a couple of customers who were like you. What would you say or recommend to somebody who wants to get interested in politics or potentially wants to follow you into?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say you actually have a better opportunity than how I came into it, because obviously we had no experience going into it or whatsoever. We did get training, but to do it is something a bit differently. So if you are interested, just contact me, come out with me, come door knock with me, come out leaflet and me, and see what we do on the ground level up. And then if you want further information on what we do inside the chambers, etc., I'm there to help and guide you to see. Firstly, if you want to be interested in it and the work that it takes to be a councillor, and obviously if you are part of the very young generation, 14, 15 or 16, Lincolnshire County Council actually invites school trips, so you can go around and see the offices and the chambers if you want to, and we do like a little mini scrutiny committee for them.
That's amazing. Again, something you'd never know. So that's brilliant. Just to clarify, did I have to be a Reform supporter, or would you happily take anyone around with you?
Anyone.
That's amazing.
Anyone.
And that just shows like, again, people may criticise Reform or whatever, but that transparency, that openness, fantastic. Really nice
I mean, at the end of the day, when I come a councillor, it's no longer about politics. Yes, there is politics on that side, no question about it. But at the end of the day, if residents do have a concern that's in my authority, I'll try and address that accordingly.
Which I think is good, because I pick up on some of our customers. They actually feel that they can't. So again, having this conversation with you, hopefully they see this and go, doesn't matter I'm a Labour, I can still reach out. Which
and I want them to do that. I can't say I can promise everything, depending on resources and manpower, etc., like that, and whether it is at that intervention level as well. But I do promise that I do look into it. I do walk-in surgeries. So, for instance, we had Debs, who lives just around the corner from myself. She had a problem, and I went round to her house. So if you do want a one-on-one communication with me, I do offer that as well.
That's amazing. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you today. Carry on the great work, and maybe we'll see you in season 3.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. So, what a great conversation with Stuart today. It was great to catch up on what he's been doing. I think as well, if you see in how he talks, how much he's improved and how confident he is. It was really nice to understand the things that he does as a local councillor, things that he's looking to improve. I think it's just actually amazing to see what a job he does, and actually how many different things it's involved. Obviously, please reach out to him if there is any local issues that you have. But ultimately, what I'll take away from this is, as much as a Reform councillor, he's there for everybody. So if you do have issues and you don't particularly lean to Reform, he's there. He's said today about reaching out. At the end of the day, first and foremost, he's your councillor. So if you want things to get done, things to change, you've got to reach out to him. If he can do a fantastic job for you, it's only going to improve things for yourself and for the area. So anyway, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.